This is Keyed In with Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. And now, here are your hosts, Max Rabin and Brent Jackson.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Keyed In podcast. I'm Max Rabin.
And I'm Brent Jackson.
So Brent, today we're going to be talking about sports, your favorite.
I'm excited. Loving sports.
Sports and real estate. We have Jordan Stuart. Jordan Stuart is the founder and CEO of Next Move. He's with Keller Williams Real Estate. He's recognized nationally as an influential real estate advisor to dozens of professional athletes, head and assistant coaches, and professional sports franchise owners. And also, he is the exclusive real estate consultant to the MLS DC United to oversee the housing needs of the club, players, personnel, and ownership. So a lot of stuff going on here with sports, not to mention I'm sure he has other real estate business to talk about. So Jordan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So just take us from the beginning and tell us how you got into real estate, how long you've been in real estate. Tell us
where you're from.
Yeah, all of it, man.
So I relocated to DC in 2006 from Philadelphia. I went to college there as well, as born and raised. Ended up purchasing a Logan Circle condo, as you guys know, in 2008 when Logan Circle wasn't quite Logan Circle yet. So realized that DuPont was priced out of that, so went east a bit and found that that was a really kind of strong investment. Worked with a real estate agent that ended up being a mentor of mine, and he worked for a boutique brokerage and said, you know what, you had a really positive experience with this. I was 24 years old at the time. You should potentially think about getting a real estate license and doing this as kind of like a side hustle. And it was funny, I think back in 2008, 2009, it's a totally different landscape of the real estate agent in DC. It was the established real estate agent, but there weren't really a lot of agents that were able to break into the space as kind of like a part-time agent, which makes a lot of sense. But I felt at the time, maybe this is something that I would be interested in. I enjoyed buying this condo. It's nice if I could do one or two deals a year, just on the weekends, and make a little extra money and represent clients and learn about the space. Usually as a buyer's agent, I'm not listing properties as a part-time consultant. So that was kind of how I started, and I ended up sitting in a management consulting position. This is pre-Zillow and pre, a lot of public-facing websites that the consumer thinks they're a lot smarter than us now, right? But at that time, the access was still limited to the MRIS, the
multiple listing service in DC.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I could sit there and I could get access to potential properties that were hard to find on public-facing websites back in 2009 to about 2012. So that's how I became integrated into the real estate world. I started meeting the established agents like you guys as a buyer's agent representing buyers. It was, I think, more of a buyer's market back there. So I had some leverage with my clients and rolled that into the fact that, hey, this could be a career. This is a way that you can be in this community, be an expert, get into certain social circles, as the real estate expert, add value. We're the facilitator. We're the ones that have the relationships. We're the ones that know the inventory, know the market, and ended up leaving my job and becoming kind of a full-time real estate agent. So
what was your job at that point?
So I was actually working with, I shouldn't say this on the podcast because they're going to retroactively fire me, but I was working, for Booz Allen here in DC. And
so you're working at Booz Allen, and then you're doing a couple deals on the side.
Correct. Yes, during work
allowed.
hours. Yeah, it wasn't a great idea. Yeah.
So that's what brought you down to DC. It was Booz Allen.
Yeah, I came down for the government consulting. Kind of what my dad wanted me to do, and that's what I thought coming out of college. Just have a 9-to-5 job, make decent money, have health benefits. But the entrepreneurial side of real estate and adding value to your clients became something that I was very interested in, and I didn't want to just kind of commute to an office and sit there all day and pretend to work sometimes and just count the clock, right? So it's a big risk. I think this space is certainly a space that if you don't get going the right way, it's going to be a challenge. And it's definitely true that 5% of the real estate agents in the city do 95% of the business.
Right.
But we all kind of collaborate together. Like, I love the fact that we're here, and I've worked with you guys before. Brent usually has like 1 million offers on his properties that he doesn't accept my clients' offers. So hopefully I can win some brownie
a real jerk
points
out
here.
there.
I knew it all along.
Yes.
Yeah.
So have you been with Keller Williams the whole time since you started?
No, I was with a boutique brokerage, DCRE Residential, if you remember them.
Mm-hmm.
Sheila Simpkins, great. And was a mentor with me, with Andrew Raguzzi, who was there at the time.
Andrew Raguzzi was on our show.
He was.
Yep.
I'm sure he was. He's a huge
Little
influence.
powerhouse. They had a nice little powerhouse office there, because I remember you guys were on Rhode Island Avenue.
Yeah. Really fun
great
office. Really
Yeah.
fun office to go to. I could be a part-time agent at the time there. I could never go. I was not ready for the big-time brokerages. You know, that's not part of the business model to service the client, I think, in the bigger brokerages. But I was able to learn and be mentored by Andrew and that brokerage for a couple of years. And then I followed him to Compass,
Mm-hmm.
where I was at for about 18 months. And Compass is where I was introduced to the opportunity for this niche that we're going to talk about today.
Right.
So exited Compass after they expanded into Virginia and joined Keller Williams under Bo and Kimberman Keaty, who are also very influential in the local DC market.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. So is this about the time you're moving from Compass to Keller Williams? Is this about the time when you're getting more into the sports stuff?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So did you immediately start your own sort of like branding within the brokerage, the Next Move branding?
So the Next Move branding was conceptualized through an idea that actually started from the Compass Sports and Entertainment division.
Got it.
So that division launched in 2017. I had a couple clients in the space here in DC, and they were looking for kind of the right fit for who could represent that within their brand and become kind of a brand ambassador to it. And when I left Compass, I decided to say, you know what, I have these relationships. It seems like if you're looking to break into luxury or break into high net worth clientele, it's almost a shortcut to have these ready-made clients there that are looking for somebody that has expertise within this specific niche space. So Next Move was saying, I'm working with a couple agents or a couple clients here in DC. Those high net worth sports entertainment clients have a whole resource package of their advisors that are sports agents, business managers, financial advisors, attorneys, spouses, you name it. So what was happening was I was getting phone calls from those advisors saying, Jordan did a really good job with maybe like a rental. You know, I'm not here selling $10 million homes to every athlete. I'm here to service the client and make sure they have a safe and private place to live. And sometimes that involves going to Crystal City and working with the leasing offices of some of those luxury apartment buildings and not having any type of financial gain out of it, but essentially building that relationship. So guess what happens? The business manager calls me and says, I have 3 other clients. One of them's getting divorced, you know, so we have this property in Santa Barbara. It's probably worth about $6 million. They'd take 5. Who does what you do out there? You know, who does what you do? Because we like working with you. Obviously, you can't sell a property in Santa Barbara, California, but you potentially, we want to find someone that we can have this type of transparent conversation that you do, and they'll have the privacy and discretion that we understand that we work with you. Sometimes when you're working with celebrity clients, it's becomes about us, and we can never make it about us with anybody, let alone somebody that's super high profile, it's the quickest way to just say, yeah, we're not going to work with you anymore. So I needed to go find real estate agents in other markets that had that type of understanding of the privacy and could handle a luxury deal and could work with advisors to get the deal done, because a lot of times you never actually meet your celebrity client. I mean,
Sure.
they're busy doing celebrity things.
You're dealing with some
Their
representative
team.
or an attorney or
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that representative attorney is hired to do that task, to
Yeah.
basically say, we have a $6 million house, we'll take 5, but we want 7, right?
Right,
We have
of course.
this
Yeah, of course.
conversation all the time.
Exactly.
So Next Move was built out of the idea that the agent is the one that adds value. So if a Sotheby's agent is doing the Santa Barbara business and they have a really good established track record in that market, why not go out and go connect with that Sotheby's agent and say, hey, here's a client, let's do a referral. I'd like to stay
Sure.
involved with this because I'm bringing the relationship. It's not a handoff. So Next Move is also not a handoff type referral. It's essentially, I'm going to maintain that relationship so I can nurture it, but you need to do the deal.
Right.
And we need to make sure that this deal is done right. And we can't be looking at singling out certain agents or whatever. That was kind of the idea. We need to find the best possible agent because my name is behind it.
Right.
So it basically was anywhere in the country you have a social media presence of agents that are building their brands online. So it's really kind of this 2018 timeframe where I could easily identify the right type of agents that we wanted to work with. So if we have agents that have a presence where they're promoting the fact that they're working with X, Y, and Z, and I'll do a little name dropping here later. I know that that's on the sheet. That's fine.
We like name dropping.
Yeah, that's fine. But if we're going online, guys, and you're super successful with what you do, but I don't see Max posting pictures in front of like a yellow Ferrari on his Instagram.
You didn't check
I
yesterday?
don't need to. Yeah. Look at yesterday's TikTok.
Yeah.
50,000 views on like some house up in the cliffs.
Right.
Yeah.
So and Brent too, like if I've been at a couple Wizards games and I've kind of had a little bit of access, and Brent's usually sitting there right there in the
Right behind
in
the basket
front
every
row.
game.
Yeah. So it becomes a point where our job is to be the experts, be the facilitator, and be a professional, essentially. And so that's how Next Move came to be. And I basically utilize that platform to bring a lot of referral business into myself here in DC, because I become this conduit to not only things going on in other places, but also, hey, can you handle
Absolutely.
a situation here?
So you're kind of handpicking your network across the country for this.
Yeah.
For for Next Move, and it was sort of born and bred out of your top contacts from the sports world.
Yes.
Yeah. Got it.
So can you walk us through your very first contact with sports, like the first
Sure.
client, and then like, so I understand like everything develops into Next Move, but why sports? Why
funny
this
story.
one person? And then who chooses the agent, right? Are you going to the athlete themselves or the entertainment person, or is it, like you just mentioned, a team of advisors or someone else that you have the relationship
Sure.
with?
So it's definitely a lot of different angles to this question, but at the very basic idea of representing a client is always, especially on a side that they're looking for a place to live, is can you find them a safe, comfortable place to live? So my first client in this space ever was based off of, funny enough, a rental listing that I posted in Zillow Rentals back in 2016. A favor, right? You're doing a favor. Hey,
Totally.
Jordan, you're a real estate agent. I have this investment property. Oh, by the way, this is like my friend. So
Yeah.
it's one of my client's friends, so I didn't even know. It's an investment property in Arlington. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment in Clarendon.
You're giving me this sinking sensation. Like, I have to do this, don't I?
You do.
Yeah.
Get in
Yeah,
this
that's what I'm
process.
thinking.
Yeah.
So I posted it on Zillow Rentals, 2016. And I doubt he's going to listen to this podcast, but if he does, maybe I'll send it to him. But I got an email while I'm sitting there at work. So I'm working as a management consultant at the time. I get an email from Zillow. That's the email address is like masked. You know how that works. Like you don't get their real email address until you respond, and then Zillow gets all the information and then sells it.
Yeah.
So it's basically saying, I'd like to rent this apartment. Do you do a 6-month lease, and can you furnish it? That was a question. So I looked at the email. I'm sitting there. It's like 2:00 on a Tuesday. I don't even want to respond to this. So I'm like, you know what? It's a year lease. Clearly, it's not furnished. I'm definitely not going to furnish it, and I'm not going to ask the owner if he'll do a 6-month lease that ends in like some weird times a year. You know,
The
I'm not even going to do it.
Classic asshole realtor response.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
If you make my
Leave me
life
alone.
Yeah.
if you make my life inherently more challenging, then this is not happening. Exactly.
That's right. Yep.
So, but I wasn't successful enough at that time to really go down that path, which I'm glad I didn't. So I actually asked the person if it was a student. I was like, are you a student that you would need to even co-sign on this? So I got a quick response, and the response was, you know what, I'm a rookie on the Washington Capitals. My parents aren't here. I don't have a girlfriend to help me. It's like very, very open with the response. Almost like it was like almost I felt bad for this person. He's like, I just need a place to live for the season. I just made the team. Can you help me? And I look up the guy, and I'm like, sure enough, it's a player named Nate Schmidt, and Nate is still in the NHL. He's a great guy. And what happens with the dynamic of sports teams is you don't really think about this, but there's this nature of everybody's friends. Like everybody's on the team, and the wives are friends, and the girlfriends are friends, and they're spending a lot of time together. So when a rookie comes and makes the team, he's going to take the spot of a veteran player. Mm-hmm. And that veteran player may have a very influential wife that's very social within the group, or has like a nanny share or something like that. So that becomes an issue, because guess what happens? That player leaves town.
Right.
They need to uproot and go somewhere else, which is extremely stressful. So if a rookie player makes the team at a lower contract, it potentially terminates another player's contract that's a veteran that has a lot of friends on the team.
Yeah.
So none of the other veteran players are going to say, you know what, I'm going to help this kid out.
They could care less.
They could care less.
Right.
They're on they want to win a championship. I mean, maybe the kid will help them eventually, but it's not of interest. It's like your focus as a professional athlete is performance, health, your personal life, your privacy of your family, and that's all that matters. You're not there to help your teammates. So that was something I didn't understand. And like, we don't really think about these things. As fans, we're kind of like, well, I would assume that these guys they're all helping each other out, you know, and that's true. They're friends.
Like they
with
look like
other.
It during the game, but it's
of course,
like life continues right after the
friends. You know, there is chemistry and all that's true. But from a standpoint of housing, the player is on his own. The team will provide a hotel for a certain amount of days, but they're a business just like everybody else. And after a certain amount of time within the collective bargaining agreement, because they need to start understanding these unions and what the players have access to and their rights within their player union in terms of how long they can stay in a hotel, they eventually have to go find their own place if they've made the team. So I ended up helping this player. I contacted Nate. I said, look, I'm going to help you out. We're going to go get some furniture. Let's figure this out. I'm going to talk to my client, and maybe we can throw some tickets in here. At the time, that was something that I thought was a good idea. So
at the time, was it not a good idea?
Well, it's you don't want to lead with that sometimes, but It's funny. The more challenging it's become to get furnished housing in this crazy real estate market, it's actually like sometimes a lead. You lead with, hey, you're a local landlord. Do you want some tickets once in a while? Let's put that into the lease, and let's make sure that this usurps the other 4 applications that are all paying like upfront a year.
Right.
So
right.
it's very competitive right now.
It depends on what team it is too, right? Like the Caps are very popular.
Right.
The Commanders, not so much.
Exactly. So
I won't go out there, but that's another story.
yeah. So I helped out this player. That led to kind of opportunities with some other players. There was some trades that happened mid-season. Trades are always stressful for everybody, including the team.
So Nate was on your side immediately.
He was.
Yeah.
Nate was on my side immediately. He made a couple introductions that didn't go too far.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, Max, that I helped his Caps players out. Now I'm going to help everybody out on the
Right.
team. That didn't happen. The team was like, you did a great job with Nate. We don't know who you are, but we will keep you in mind for the future.
Sure.
And it kind of ended there. So unless I want, there's some ways that you can get in as a sponsorship with the team and
Of course.
go that route, which I didn't have the, kind of the income to do that. So Nate helped me. He introduced me to a couple players and kind of became somebody that was a resource, but certainly not the team agent or anything like that. There's a number of real estate agents. Sharif Abdallah here
Sure.
is a really, really popular real estate agent with a lot of athletes as well, and does a really, really good job by keeping that kind of private relationship. So he works with a ton of people. It always surprises me that if I connect with somebody, they're like, oh yeah, Sharif already sent me like that. And it's okay. That's great. Stay away from that. So
happens in every circle though,
right.
With these agents.
Yeah. So that's what led to the idea that there was a need for the space, and it was a branding opportunity as well. It's really hard, I think, in this space. I think every day we see it. There's like a new rising star real estate agent that's coming to compete against you in some listings. And I never look at this space as like a competitive space, because I don't think Brent has ever taken one of my clients. Max never has taken one of my clients. Our clients probably have never met, and we've done thousands of deals.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's like, if you take that mentality, you're not going to get very far in this space. So I wanted to kind of just go down a path of, no one's really doing this. No one's going to feel like they're competing against me. They might not like it if they see me walking on the court with a player. Like, they might be like, this guy's annoying. Why does he get to do this? But
I do that at the Wizards game. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm like, how did he get down there?
Oh, really?
Like, why is he there and I'm not? I'm up here in the stands.
I know. Did you really? That's funny.
I'm just kidding.
But
I don't know. I'm pretty snarky like
but
that.
That's the way. But that happens in real estate. There's like a jealousy thing, and it's like, what are you up to? What are you doing? And it's like,
especially with sports.
And it doesn't matter. It's funny how that it goes from every level of real estate too. It's like you see someone doing something, you're like,
the beauty of it is, I think there's a respect factor in this, because what Brent wouldn't know is the fact that I probably spent 2 months moving furniture, in and out of a rental property for no money. While Brent was listing yet another $2 million Capitol Hill property,
another
with
Capitol
offers.
Quarter townhouse with 17 offers.
Right. Yeah. And and paying for those tickets for the Wizards game that I'm sure are not cheap, and
But being on the floor with the players is a different story. I'm like, man, how do I get access like that? I'm very proud.
Move some furniture around.
Move some furniture. Yes.
It is fun. It is fun. It's I'm not gonna lie. That's the motivation piece of it. This morning, I was texting with the soccer agent right now. I was actually yelling at him because we were working hard to get one of his clients a place to live, and his wife ended up stepping in and finding a spot after 2 weeks of us spending a ton of time. So I was scolding him about that. A Nationals pitcher is asking me if his rent's due today and that he can't send a wire from his phone. So he needs to wait till he's
real world problems.
Yeah. He's
millions in the bank, but I don't know how to send a wire to my landlord.
Right. So there's like every day there's a communication line on my phone to I probably speak to 5 or 6 pro athletes every day directly, which is really cool. And as someone that grew up as a fan and didn't have too much, my parents weren't that into sports. I guess I played sports when I was a kid, but we weren't like season ticket holders. My dad wasn't an NFL agent or anything like that. This was essentially manifested within this idea that having a niche and specialization within real estate is vital as almost like a lifeline to guarantee you a certain amount of deals every year.
Mm-hmm.
So, so yeah, we can keep going, but that's kind of the idea that it is something that empowers my business and always puts me in a position that I will get a phone call and say, I have a $5 million house to sell. Can you sell it, Jordan? A lot of times I take my name off these deals. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but there's this piece of, the non-subscriber
Right, non-subscriber MLS.
non-subscriber MLS. So a lot of my buyers that I work with in this space,
They don't want any connection to
nope, no connection. So
Interesting.
our job is to protect the identity of our client. If people, let's use this scenario. I'm kind of switching gears a little bit. If you have a $5 million listing in Georgetown, the likelihood of you having to be at that listing to show it is high. So if I show up to that listing with, let's just say, a Washington Wizards player,
Mm-hmm.
and you sit there and you can see exactly who it is, and we have a conversation, and
Right.
you and I are cool. But a lot of times, as you mentioned, there's this ego thing where you're kind of like, why Jordan's okay, but you could get a better deal if you just come with me, or I know this market really well, or I have a couple off-market properties, and maybe you even call me and say, Jordan, you're not quite good enough for this. I get this actually a lot. I have a couple off-market properties I'd like to share with you. I'm going to need a referral because, and I'm happy to do that. But what happens is my client doesn't buy your house in Georgetown. We go and buy another house, probably listed by Brent. So what happens is we monitor these $5 million listings in the city because we're sending out our invitations to these events and we're targeting the agents that are selling these homes. So eventually you're going to put 2 and 2 together, or you're going to, even if I have an NDA with Brent and you call Brent and say, hey, was this Wizards player the one that bought your house? Brent's probably going to be like, Max, we're cool. I don't talk about anything with my deals, so I'm not going to give a comment on that. But Max, you and I don't have an NDA.
Right.
So what happens is the agent of a house that didn't get the offer could potentially contact Washingtonian or Business Journal, whatever it may be, and say, oh, by the way, this player that just signed this huge free agent deal, he lives in Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
I know it because I showed him the house. And I can see that his agent, who I showed it to, just closed the $5 million deal around the corner.
Right.
Probably the same thing. Look at the tax record of some random LLC. But if my name's associated with it, guess what happens? Goes in the Washingtonian.
Yeah.
No comment from me. I get a phone call from a financial advisor that represents 60 NBA players. This happens to be one of them. Jordan, we trusted you in DC with our client. What's going on here? His wife just sent me the address of their home that they just closed on last week. What is going on here? You said to us that we put in the LLC, we did everything you said. And I'm like, my name's on the deal. Other agents know that I was showing homes to your client. And they're the ones that probably reported this. I don't have any proof of that because the reporter in Washingtonian is not going to tell me that. So for me to say, you know what, Max, double-side the deal. Put in there for Real Trends that you did a buyer representation for this deal. And you also represented the seller. I don't want my name anywhere near this.
Mm-hmm.
So in MLS, it's like Max has added 10 million to his volume, but 5 million is actually me, but I'm going to take away 5 million from my volume to protect the client.
Yeah.
Or non-subscribing MLS, which is more common. I've had a lot of really strong agents in DC just say, Jordan, we're not going to double side the deal. We didn't represent the client. It's not good. There's some agents that don't do that and they want the numbers. I won't tell you who they are, but there are some agents that.
Well, I can tell our audience right now that all of my recent double sided deals are not athletes. Okay, they're legit. All right,
Perfect.
but I like this. I like where you're going with this. It's very interesting. I never really even thought about it. So now I'm going to be looking at these things. I want to
add a little
differently.
nugget. I want to add a little nugget to this. So, we as professionals, especially in this space, and even with your guys' wealthy clients that have a target on their back, like not just athletes nobody's knocking on the door to get autographs. This is DC. I mean, let's get serious. A lot of people just don't care. They don't care that their neighbor plays for the Wizards. They don't even know who it is. But there are very wealthy clients that do have enemies in the business world and have probably made money when other people are losing money.
Sure.
And need to have that respect given to them by saying, okay, you're walking away with the commission. That's great. I did my job. But I get crazy when I get these like real producers trends with the rankings. Like, guys, who cares? Like, who cares about these? No.
I mean, I've always looked at those.
But you're stuttering there. I'm thinking you really do care.
Well,
you open it up. You're like, where am I?
Yeah, of course I look. But I'm always ranked higher on there that I know. I'm like, that's not right. I'm like, I'm happy that they put me on that number, but I think
those numbers are phony. Like, as soon as I get it, I trash it. But our members on our team always go through it and tell us where we are. And I'm like, half the time the stuff's made up. Like, to your point.
Yeah. And I think it's great, but I do think if you make one mistake in that space, none of that matters.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Of course.
So I'd rather walk away quietly with a $5 million commission, obviously, than.
Well, you're trying to also maintaining the relationships, like the network of relationships through the business is key. That's it.
It's all that matters.
Yeah.
Literally, that's all that matters to me. And if I ever put my clients in a position that they can come back and say, you made a mistake, you've disappointed us. Like, how bad is it in our business when one of our clients says, Max, you really disappointed me. I expected more out of you.
I love this role playing where you're like really on my case today.
Everything's negative is like flowing to Max. That's not not.
Must have been the story you guys were sharing earlier with the dog.
Oh, let's just leave that aside.
But the that's one piece of it. I was actually at a professional athlete's house yesterday. He called me. He said, Jordan, can you come over? Thinking of selling the house. Bought a house about a year ago. He's actually paid about $870 for it. I think it's worth about $1 million now. Mm-hmm. And he's considering making a move, but he goes, Jordan, I need your help. Can you come over? 2:00. I get it in WhatsApp. So there's WhatsApp. I don't know if you guys use WhatsApp, but WhatsApp is a very common platform for communicating with my really kind of high profile clients. You can delete text messages in WhatsApp. So there's like if you're a high profile person, you have a lot of anxiety about what you're putting in writing, even to me. So I'll wake up in the morning and it'll be like, this conversation's been deleted by the other person, and it's something that I think is benign, but it's just, that's kind of the way that these clients live their life. So, Jordan, can you come over 2:00? I want to talk. I need your help. So I said, okay, whatever. I changed my day around. I drive to Alexandria where this house is, and I go to the house, and he's like, I'm thinking about selling the house, but I actually need your help for something else. And I'm like, okay, what is this? What's going to happen here? He's like, my washing machine doesn't work. By the way, he doesn't have a dryer, which is interesting. Like, you buy he'd never bought the dryer, just bought the washing machine. So why are we buying the washing machine and not the dryer? You'll never know. It's adding a complication that's unbeknownst to me. But I might send him this podcast after I talk about this too. Mm-hmm. So he's about to leave for a long time. It's about to leave for a long time today. So he's like, I need this resolved. My girlfriend he shows me this pillow that's like, it looks like if you put a dog or a cat in the shower,
Okay.
like a puffy dog becomes like nothing.
Right.
So he shows me this like really skinny pillow, and I'm like, what is this? Why do I care about this pillow? He's like, Jordan, my girlfriend put this pillow in the washing machine, and this pillow was made of like down feathers. Like it was some like crazy down feather, like really elaborate pillow. His girlfriend put it in the washing machine. So he's on the phone, and he's like, I'm on the phone, and my washing machine, I hear it just start like beeping, like really like something's failing in it. So I go up there, and I realized that my girlfriend had put this pillow in the washing machine, and I open it up, and there's like 1,000 feathers
Like all at the bottom of it.
in the washing machine.
Disgusting.
So he didn't do anything. He called me. Like this was
Called
an
you.
emergency. He called
Yeah.
me, and he didn't tell me why he called me. So I come over. I was like, did you just
feathers
call
in
me
your water.
because you want me to help you with the washing machine? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm leaving tomorrow. I don't want to leave it like this. And I go in there, and like I pull out all these down feathers. This is ridiculous. I'm like pulling it out like I'm tarred and feathered or whatever, and I'm pulling all these feathers out, and the feathers are stuck in the holes of the washing machine drum.
The drain thing.
So it's almost like if you have like if you like put wax on your hand as a kid, and you like to pick the wax off your hand or something,
Right, yeah.
like something that's like a weird
Only people with
sensation.
kids would know that. What
Yeah.
that is. Yeah.
Every hole in this drum had like a little piece of feather sticking out of it. Like you have the pillow, you prick your hand on the feather, you pull that feather out, you throw it away. It was like 1,000 of these things. So I'm in there, and I'm like, I'm getting the sensation.
feathers.
I'm like, this is something that if I had OCD, I would love doing this. So he's like trying to move me out of the way he's like, oh, I can do that if that's what it is. I'm like, no, let me. Give
Your
me
next
like 10
move,
minutes.
Jordan. You got this.
Right. Give me like 10 minutes. I'm really concentrating on fixing this. So, but at the end of the day, the point of that story is walking into some of these client needs. That's $1 million property that I'm going to sell. And I'm sure we have clients like this that were quirky and have quirky things, but I have to go into these situations expecting that one of the best athletes in the world, who's really, really good at a sport, is dealing with like a feathery pillow in his washing machine and calling me to be the one to handle this situation.
It almost makes perfect sense.
Yes. So this athlete also has a really nice car, and he's like, I need to get rid of my car. I talked to it's an X4, all souped up. So I talked to the BMW dealer in Tysons. They gave me this number. I think I'm just gonna drive to the dealership and give him the car. I was like, time out. Do you know what Kelley Blue Book is? He's like, no, I have no idea what that is. Why would he?
Why would he?
So I go into Kelley Blue Book. We get the VIN number off of his car. He starts up the car with the garage door closed to get the mileage, by the way. I'm like, no, don't do that. Open the garage door before you start your car, please. Carbon monoxide. I don't want to be a subject to this.
Right.
Yeah. So, it was, yeah, it's, so we go in and we price out the car, and he doesn't have a printer, of course. It's like a Surface Pro or something that we can't, it's in another language. I don't even know what's going on. So we're taking pictures of the Kelley Blue Book. I explained to him, this is the dealership price. This is the private price. You're not going to, you as who you are, is not going to sell this to somebody off Craigslist. We're going to do the best we can on the dealer price here, but don't just let the BMW dealer write you a check for like 30 grand. Don't take anything less than 51, The Blue Book value is 49 or something. I don't know. And then we go, and I'm like, you're leaving town for a long time. Do you have any do you have like an Easy Pass? I saw an Easy Pass in your car. And he's like, yeah, I have an Easy Pass. And I was like, do you have any like toll violations? Are you getting anything in the mail about this? He's like, yeah, I've gotten a couple of these notices. They're right over here. So we go through, there's all these like toll violation notices. So I go through and we log into the terrible VA website and we pay all the Easy Pass violations. So these are the type of things that just make sense.
Yeah.
Like,
but you're doing a lot of, they're wearing a lot of hats with that particular client, but I understand like why you're doing it, you know?
it's something over,
They trust you.
it's something over 6 years of in this space that I'm able to walk into a situation and I've trained myself to do things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's satisfying. And it also makes me kind of irreplaceable, because our goal as real estate agents is we want to be irreplaceable so that we don't get fired and somebody else comes in and sells the house. So these are like these little activities that are very important. I'm not sitting there like getting a picture with him and whatever. That happens when it's appropriate, but for the most part, we're just going through these really kind of basic activities so that when he's leaving town and hands me the keys and says, in 2 weeks, I'm going to call you, Jordan, and I'm going to say, sell this house. Either, and all this $100,000 worth of furniture in here, we need to figure that out too. What we're doing with that, because it's beautiful. Like everything's top of the line. So there's like nice luxury goods that need to find a home, you know, and I may have to sit there while the packers come, if we're going to put that in storage, and like oversee this project. So yeah, that's.
So you mentioned on the you don't do the buy side, you'll let some agent double dip or give it to another agent or whatnot. On the listing side, like with this,
listing side's a little more complicated.
Would you be the face of the listing, or would you let somebody else handle it?
Listing's different. So I see number 10 here has something to do with that. Listing is different, and I sold Todd Reardon's house. Mm-hmm. So Todd Reardon was the head coach of the Washington Capitals. Great guy, Todd. If you're ever listening to this, Todd called me. I knew Todd and Shelby, his wife, when they weren't the head coach yet. So he was an assistant coach. I assisted them with their housing while he was an assistant coach. When the Caps won the Stanley Cup, I had some inside information because of my relationship with Todd that he was going to be named the next head coach of the Caps. Barry Trotz was going to be in line for a huge payday, which he got from a different team, but he wasn't going to get that from here. And they were basically grooming Todd to be the next head coach of the Caps. I have just basic fascination with the business of sports. I had some information directly that he was getting overtures from some other teams and things like that, which is really kind of neat. So when he came to sell, he got fired after basically a year or 2 years, forget what it was. I was the first call. So we're in this position with our luxury clients. When something goes south in the relationship, the real estate agent gets the call, either in the personal life or the business life. I'm true on the speed dial, and I have to come in and I have to have a plan ready. So COVID didn't help this either, because he's living there. He's trying to figure out what's going on. I just got fired. I want to get out of here. I have so many good memories of this place, but it's time to move on. And my family needs to move on. My son's in school. You have to think about that. These older, like a head coach, I mean, his son is in school. His son has a whole life here.
Yeah, that's tricky.
Yeah. And it's time to go. And his dad,
the public knows that, right?
And the public is on Twitter, and they're like, Todd Reardon didn't get past the second round of the playoffs. Like, we won the Stanley Cup with Trotz. Like, why did they get rid of Trotz? And it's emotionally like taxing to an athlete or a coach that has something in a performance base that's totally not fair to them as personal people. And we need to humanize that. and we need to be extremely loyal. If you want me to name drop, Antonio Brown is a 3-time client of mine. So I've sold a few of his homes, and his reputation, even at the time I was working with him, there was a lot of scandals involved with that. But I learned from the very beginning part of this, none of that matters. Like, our job is to sell the real estate. We can't make any type of judgments with our clients. This space here in DC, you have a lot of political clients. I'm sure you guys have that. Absolutely. You may not agree with their personal political views, but
I just start off with not agreeing with anyone, and then that way
there
it's
you
all
go.
even.
Right.
You see?
Yeah. So
I have a general question, because I'm assuming in your niche that they're either leaving or coming unhappy, right? Like, you got traded, you got fired, whatever. So you're picking up your family and you're going to California, or vice versa. You got traded from the Lakers and you're coming here from the Wizards. Like, what the hell? I'm coming to Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably disgruntled from the time that you meet them, would be my guess.
It depends on the personality. Really, I'll just close the loop on Todd, but that was a situation where he was surprised that he got fired. So basement was full of Reardon memorabilia, jerseys, Stanley Cup stuff. His office was as well. So we put in a disclaimer. I set up basically a nanny cam system. And I said, Todd, we can go 2 ways. The first way is we empty out your house, we stage it, we strip down the personality of you, and we say, this is just a $2.2 million listing in Falls Church.
Yeah.
Clearly, people know whose house this is.
Mm-hmm.
The neighbors, whoever. We bought it from Elliot in the morning, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I have a really funny story about that. And Elliot will probably listen to this podcast. But 2 ways to go. It was strip it down or highlight it. He's leaving town. Todd, are you and Shelby going to live here during the listing? No, we're out. I'm taking a job in Pittsburgh. We're going back to Indiana. We own a house there. We're out. We're not staying here any longer than we need to. Jordan will help you get the house ready. That's it. Okay. Really kind of interesting sitting in his living room a day after he got fired and seeing the emotions of it. And like I mentioned, COVID, so it's like nobody really knew what was going on either. So that also created a layer of kind of just general
Weird
strangeness. Yeah. He has a pool, did we open the pool? The usual questions with luxury clients, what are we doing here? Because it was kind of like the summer situation. Todd says to me, let's highlight the house. Who cares that I got fired? Let's go ahead and showcase the fact that this is Todd Reardon's home. It's a beautiful home. We want top dollar for it. And there's a general common interest that, Jordan, it's probably better to get more people into this home than kind of just make it another empty home.
To your advantage.
Oh, yeah. So I don't do this very often, but I contacted one of my contacts at Washingtonian, and I said, do you want to feature recently fired Coach Todd Reardon's home in the real estate section? Yeah, absolutely. Give me the exclusive on it. Wait till you get all the professional photos. Give me the exclusive, Jordan. Don't tell anyone else. We're going to run this feature. And that's what happened. We did the professional photos. It was essentially just another marketing tactic of us as a listing agent to highlight this home. And we set up some nanny cams. We kept the memorabilia in the home. And I ended up selling that house for, I think, about $200,000 more. Don't tell my buyers, because I actually brought the buyer to that one, than I thought it would get if it was just kind of
you had a little extra marketing tailwind, right?
Big time.
So just here's one of my stories, and I'm sure you know about that one. It's like it's not. I was working on this one. Jonathan Taylor was the lead listing agent. These are his clients with Jason Worth. We had his house on the market forever.
Yes, he did.
Okay. Yep. And for non-sports people, Jason Worth, won a World Series with the Phillies. He was one of the most beloved national players, a huge sports star.
Yes.
And everyone knew that was his house too.
Yeah.
But he was adamant about, do not tell anyone this is my house. I don't want anyone to know it's my house. And it's like, there's a giant poster in there, like someone painted of him. It looks like the Sistine Chapel of him, like in the World Series. I'm not kidding. and all this other like sports, just everything you could
Right.
possibly
Yeah.
imagine. And it's just like, dude, like anyone who comes here, no matter what NDA they sign, like as soon as they walk out of here.
They know
So
what it is.
so finally, somehow a Realtor.com like columnist, some like advertorial writer for Realtor.com picked it up
Right.
that it was his house. I don't
Yep.
know from what, and wrote something, and he sends it to Jonathan in the middle of the night by text, like, "What is this?"
Yep.
And Jonathan's
course.
like, "Look, I told you." Luckily, it wasn't like that much. It wasn't too sore because it's so much time had passed.
Yeah.
And it was really a matter of time before that happened. And then he was like, "All right, well, just go ahead with
Just
it.
go
Make
ahead
sure
with
it's in every single publication." And then the house did actually sell in a reasonable time frame after that.
After that,
Yeah.
right.
Was he living in the house at the time?
Initially, but then no, they had moved out completely, like
Okay.
for most of the listing.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah, for sure.
So
They just want their
that's-
privacy.
It's really once kind of it's time to sell the house. Really, one of my first conversations is, guys, you gotta find another place to live,
Yeah.
because it's not going to be. This is just a story that people are interested in. I mean, I always joke about Hard Knocks on HBO. You watch that show that gets millions of viewers, and it's like an unnamed, undrafted rookie playing video games in some no-name apartment,
Hmm.
gets just so many views because people are just interested in that.
Yeah.
So it's, I think one of the tenets of listing celebrity properties is you can't control the story as well as when they're buyers. I think buyers, they're moving into the property. We do not want to know where they live.
Hmm.
They do not want to know that. So I have many examples of that. I'm not going to talk about that because it's different. But when you're listing a house, the goal is, what's the goal? It's to sell the house, so it's not there forever.
Right.
Get top dollar, move on. You're listing the house, like move on. But we also don't want to create a circus. Just the fact that you're living here and you have to, your wife and your kids have to know the fact that in the
Yeah.
media, your
Random people.
address is online and you're trying to play, throw a ball in the backyard and people are driving by and they're stopping and they're taking pictures, and it's just obnoxious.
Totally.
So, but luckily this market's different. DC's different.
Yeah.
DC is not as, people just don't care as much. They don't care. There's plenty of money in this area. The celebrities, and especially in sports, I think are a little lower tier in terms of publicizing than some other places.
Yeah.
So I've found that to be kind of a fun dynamic, but it's also something that you have to have expertise in. So
You've been crushing it out there. I mean, we've
Yeah.
been following your
thank you.
transition from 2008 all the way through. I knew you back with Andrew days, Andrew Raguzzi, who's now at Compass. But yeah, I have a fondness for what you're doing out there, and I have a huge passion for sports. So it's like a win-win for me with real estate and
Yeah.
sports. So.
Awesome.
It's great stuff. And you got lots of awesome stories, but we're low on time.
Okay.
Like,
We could keep on going.
I mean,
that's
that's
for sure.
there's definitely more stories to talk about, but
We'll have to have him back on for
Yeah.
another episode.
for sure. So I'd say we just first of all, just thank you for coming out, man, and sharing the stories and telling us about your business and fascinating stuff. Brent's gonna hit you with some rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Rapid fire. We've been talking a lot about sports. Do you have a favorite sport?
I played soccer growing up. I like soccer. That's my deepest connection here in DC, I have to say. Soccer, men's and women's, both. I think it's the most entertaining sport to watch on both sides as well. So that's what's on a lot on my TV in my house.
So if you have a favorite team, who would that be?
I mean, they're not the best team, but DC United has
United.
become my team. It's become part of my existence. So they've done a lot of really good things for me, and I really support them, and they're local. I can go to the games. And at an international level, not really. I don't follow that closely the club level. I
Right.
appreciate it, but some of these players just make so much money. It's like they could just play poorly and no one would care because it's just an insane amount
It's
of
wild.
success. So I really love the World Cup. That's my favorite. That's my favorite like event that I'll sit there and kind of follow closely. So
Outside of sports, entertainment, and real estate, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do?
um being engaged with my kids, I think is great. I think this world is always a work-life balance. I always argue with she'll probably listen to this, but I argue with my wife about that. It's like you can make your own hours. Like, well, we actually work like 90 hours a week, so I would argue against that. And that's so I think spending time with my kids is really important to me. And honestly, these types of experiences, just personal relationship building, is great. I don't listen to any specific podcasts, consistently. Like motivational things is not really my thing. I don't read a lot of books at all. I basically like to spend my time picking up the phone and calling anybody that is willing to have a conversation. Yeah, and kind of go that route. So just be present as best I can, because a lot of times we get in the weeds in this business and we want to kind of try to step back a little bit and appreciate that. So really kind of a weird answer, but
your hobby is being present.
My hobby is being present and talking to people that I care about and checking in on people. That's really kind of what I like to do. So
Question 4, what city outside of DC do you like to visit?
Good question. I like exploring cities with people that are from there. So I like going to visit. I mean, I was in Nashville a couple weeks ago with Nashville residents that can take me to local spots. Like that really excites me. If I could travel more in the future, I'd love to travel overseas again. COVID kind of messed that up for all of us as well, but I like going to other cultures and things like that. But cities, I mean, New York is awesome. There's just endless things to do. I think the people that live in New York are always fascinated and always have like fun things at all hours.
And they're always in a rush to go somewhere.
Yeah. So I'd say I've never been in New York and not just been completely in awe of everything that happens there. But I like our city too. We're never moving. No, three of us are stuck here forever. So
I keep pretending like every time I go somewhere, I'm like, this, like I was in Palm Springs recently. I'm like, this is nice. And then people are like, what are you going to do in Palm Springs? And I'm like, I just hang out and play tennis. They're like, you're going to be very bored.
I really respect successful real estate agents that are able to just pick up and move somewhere else. It's mind-boggling. I saw Greg Schneider just moved to Wyoming.
Yeah.
And Greg is like super successful here in DC. Greg, if you're listening.
Wyoming.
Yeah. Wyoming, Jackson Hole.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Good for him.
Greg Schneider with Compass for those that are listening.
Yes. Greg, good on you, my man. I couldn't ever.
Starting from scratch.
Oh, I couldn't do it. No. So it's fun to travel places though.
Yes,
but
indeed.
Relocating, no.
Last question here: who would play you in a movie?
Ooh,
that's always a tough one for people.
Yeah, I'm always more out of shape than I want to be. So, I probably like someone. I like Ewan McGregor. Is that a weird answer? I like Ewan McGregor. I think he's an awesome actor and just is a little bit more low key. So
we have the next movie coming out.
That's right. Next movie. I like that.
Yes.
All right, Jordan. Thank you so much for coming out today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan.
We always give a donation to the charity of our guest's choice. So do you have a shout out for a charity?
Yeah. So I was actually, so the Center for Exploited Children and Missing Kids, at Missing Kids on Instagram. It's run by a friend of mine, John Walsh. So John Walsh was a longtime host of America's Most Wanted for us 90s kids. And I actually just went to his fundraiser as one of the night sponsors, which was here in Crystal City last week. And I just really have a passion for for, that type of thing for people that can't defend themselves. And I'm always going to donate money to his cause. And I'd love to match whatever donation you do for that. That would be amazing. So,
Great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks for listening to Keyed In with your hosts, Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. For more information on selling your home, find us online at keyedinpodcast.com. Remember to subscribe to Keyed In on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Keyed In Podcast, at Rabin Max, and at Brent E. Jackson. And follow Max on TikTok at MaxwellRabin_properties.